Everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm going to start with prayer. We pray for all single mothers today. I was raised by a single mom, and my wife was raised by a single mom, and they did everything for us. Cooking, cleaning, working a full-time job, raising kids. And for all single parents, we pray for hope and love and finances and much success for the single family units in everything they do. For this we pray to the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer. Let's go to page 7 in our handouts, and you'll see these questions for homework. And I'll let you correct this on your own. Remember, the word variable means letter, and it's single letter. So R, not R squared, so go ahead and correct that one, is the independent variable, which means X. And we know that the dependent variable is Y because if you look on the top left corner of your calculator, it says Y equals. And so if you have A equals or P equals or D equals VT, it's the letter or the variable by itself that's the dependent variable. And similarly, you'll see that in number 2, there's your X, there's your Y, there's your independent, there's your dependent. And remember, don't mix these up. If I ask for the dependent variables and you give me the inputs and outputs, you'll get them wrong, and vice versa. So please do not mix these up or you'll get them wrong. The other thing is you don't need to repeat. Is there any inputs, outputs that are repeating? I don't think so on these questions, but if there was another 3, 2 here, and 2 as an output already, you don't need to put it again, okay? Just leave it as 1. All right, go ahead and go to the top of page 8. And I think you just have one more question. So let's scroll down and correct it. There you go. Once again, a variable, 4/3 is a number. It has nothing to do with a variable. Pi is a number, is not a variable. And we just saw that R squared is not a variable. So R cubed certainly is not either. It's either R or V. It's either C or F. You don't have to worry about the other mumbo jumbo. And don't forget, your x-axis is horizontal, your y-axis is vertical. So there's your independent variable, there's your dependent variable. All right, I'll let you correct for another minute. And we'll move on to where we left off on page 9. I asked you to fill in the table of values at the bottom of page 9 and then graph them on the top of page 9. So I'll let you get there. Okay, so the table at the bottom of page 9 should look like this. These being, well, don't worry about that one. The numbers that you need to concentrate on, again, when you're looking, we saw in the graphic calculator, when you have an x squared, it's either going to be a parabola facing up, facing down in grade 10. And so if you get something like that, or like that, or like that, or maybe like that, or like that, if you don't get a parabola, anything that doesn't look like a smiley face or frowny face, then you did it wrong. And what did you do wrong? Well, 99% of the time, it's the negative numbers you did wrong. You have to put them in the brackets. Okay, so if this one here, if you put -2 squared, subtract 6 on your calculator, you're going to get -10. And this point is going to be -2, -10. and it's not going to form a parabola. So you know whether you did the negative numbers right or not. So pardon me for the mess. Let me go that way. Can I do that? It doesn't work now. Usually erases anyways. Once you plot these points and get rid of that. Once you plot these points, you get a parabola. I don't like a couple things they did here. I want you to go all the way through that point and draw arrows because it goes on forever. So please do that if you want full marks on my graphing questions. And you also need to label the parabola. The name of the parabola is the equation I gave you, just like the name of the line was the equation I gave you in the question. Okay, so now it says use the graph for x equals -4. Again, you got to be careful. Yeah, this could say next time y equals -4. X equals -4 is on the x-axis, and it's 4 to the left. So now you got to see where the graph hits 4 to the left. So it's either up or down, and it's right there at 10. So that's where they get y equals 10. That is the point, the coordinate ordered pair, -4, 10. So wouldn't mind writing that down. And then if you use the equation, again, they close the brackets. Please write it again. That's pretty much the only mistakes that students make on these questions. And the other thing is the labeling. Okay, so label and close brackets, and you're going to have a very good quiz, question, test on functions. Next is EFGH. And we might have to, hold on, we can see it. And write the value of y when x equals -4. Yeah. Connect, we already did that. Nonlinear means not aligned. So go ahead and write down quadratic. You'll be seeing that word a lot in grade 11. Quadratic functions means the highest degree of x is x squared. And they give us parabolas. Okay, I think we are, no, we're not. We're going to do one more question together. Actually, no. Sorry. You're going to, I was looking on page 9, we're on page 10 now. And you're going to do the question on the bottom. I will help you with the -4. Okay, so this is where we are. And again, this one's a little tricky though, because it now has a negative sign out in front. So our equation is y equals -x squared plus 5. And I've been saying all year, if there's a negative sign out in front, just leave it out in front. So this negative sign stays in front, even if you have a -4 as your x. Now your x becomes, I'm doing this one here, -4 all squared plus 5. And that's a little troubling for your brain, especially early in the morning or after lunch. However, it is not troubling for your calculator. So -4 squared, negative bracket, -4 bracket, x squared plus 5. So that's how we enter it in. And looks like negative 11 to me. There it is, negative 11. Back over here, we have a negative 11 here, which is going to fit on our graph. And that's ordered pair negative 4, negative 11. Now we know this should be a parabola. So if it's not a parabola, we probably did the negatives wrong. And let's do it again by putting our negative values, these guys here, in brackets on the calculator. But in this case, this one's the trickiest one. We have to leave our negative sign out in front and then put the negative value in brackets, okay? So did it for you. You should be able to do it just fine. Once you do that, answer all the questions that follow. I'll give you 4 minutes to do this one. There actually is no question to follow. It's just graph it, which is fantastic. So let's still give you 4 minutes to do this. And I'll get you to pause this, Mrs. Jones, and come back in 4 minutes. Okay, let's see how you did. And very interested in your negative values. Hopefully you got negative 4, 1, 4. For those guys, again, I'm not going to write down the equation negative x squared, but for this one, negative 3, it's negative 3 squared plus 5. I didn't show any work here. That's what you punch into your calculator, and you get negative 4. If you didn't get it, write this down and punch it in your calculator to confirm instead of just writing down our answers. You need to know how to get this, and then go ahead and try the negative 2 in the same way, except for instead of negative 2 or negative 3 all squared, you got negative 2 all squared plus 5. Once you get the hang of it, you just do it every time, whether it's a positive number or a negative number. And parabola, good job. This person did put arrows on the end. Let's label it y equals negative x squared plus 5. And I have no choice but to give you full marks for that table of values. And you label a line and put arrows on it. Exactly what you should do. For this quadratic, yes, it's nonlinear, but more often you'll hear quadratic function. Okay, I lost a thought. I'm not sure what I was going to say. But I do know you have, about 20 minutes to work on the homework on pages 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so homework, pages 11 to 14, until you see the next heading on page 14, X and Y intercepts. So go ahead, you have 20 minutes. If any questions, please ask me on the Google Meet. And Ms. Jones, you can pause this for 20 minutes. And then we'll get started with XY intercepts. Okay, good job. Let's move on to XY intercepts. The rest of that homework is for homework due tomorrow. And now we're on page 14. And you can fill the blanks in if you wish. I want to review. Relation can be represented graphically by a set of ordered pairs. First component of a set of ordered pairs is the x coordinate. And I will just remind you that input Goes with independent variable. It's one way to memorize it. Input and independent go together. And the y is dependent on the x, the equation, to get y. Oh, let's see if I can move it. Yay. Let's go to these three graphs. And I'll help you with graph 1. It says crosses the x-axis. Well, here's the x-axis. It's the horizontal one. Where does the graph cross it? Right there. And it's at -3, 0. Go ahead and do these two dots and try to answer B. Again, it's important you don't put 0, -3 here. Remember, the x goes first, the y goes second. You start at, this is your starting point, always for graphing order pairs. 1, 2, 3 to the left means -3. 0 up or down. Okay, the next two, this point is -2, 0 and 2, 0. And this guy looks like it's at -4, 0 and 4, 0. And what do all the points have in common? Good job, somebody who said the y-coordinate equals 0. You can see that, okay? Sometimes your brain will tell you falsely that for the y-intercept y equals 0. That's not true. We're talking about x-intercepts right now. X-intercepts, y equals 0. That's how we're going to solve them. Okay, go ahead and do the y-axis. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to minimize it, I think, to get it on the same screen. So go ahead and do C for me, please, with the same graphs. Find the y-intercepts of graph 1, 2, and 3. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so top of page 15, make sure you're on the right track. This is graph 1. We're now going to the y-axis. The y-axis goes vertical. And where does this hit the y-axis? At 0, 5. Or 5 up. And the next one is at 0, 6. Or 6 up. And I want you to write down 2 y-intercepts. Because if I ask you for the y-intercept or seps, I'm not going to give you 2 brackets. there may be one or two x and y intercepts depending on your graph, so make sure you look for both. And in this case, we've got a -4 and a 4 up. So 0, 4 down, and 0, 4 up. Next question, what do all these y-intercepts have in common? And yes, similarly, x equals 0. So go ahead and highlight this first sentence of each paragraph, and then super duper star stop sign guy, because this is how we're going to be determining x and y intercepts algebraically. Okay, so that's going to be easier if I go like this, maybe even like this. There we go. And exactly what the dots say on the top of the page here. To find the x-intercept, you're going to set y equal to 0 in the equation and solve. And to determine the y-intercept, you're going to put x equals 0. So again, it's kind of the opposite of what your brain thinks. For x-intercept, y equals 0, and for y-intercept, x equals 0. So let's do example 1 together. And we're going to use the equation. And the first thing I want to do is for x-intercept, I want to put y equals 0. And for y-intercept, x equals 0. Second step is I write down the equation that I'm given. Okay, I will provide you with an equation. Just write it down. And now, wherever I see a y, I put 0. So 3 times y becomes 3 times 0. 3 times 0 equals 0. And now I have to remember how to solve an equation. You cannot simply move this equal sign in between the 5x and 15. You have to do the opposite operation to both sides of the equation. And in this case, you got two opposite operations. This means 5 times x, so you're going to divide by 5. And plus 15, the opposite of add 15 is subtract 15. You have to know which one to do first. I teach this in grade 7 how to do, I call this an add or subtract first question. Or if you don't like that, you can do it this way. Before you get x by itself, you gotta get 5x by itself. So you gotta get rid of this add 15, so you subtract 15 on both sides. And then now we divide by 5. 5x means 5 times x, so we divide both sides by 5. We get -3 equals x. And that's not good enough. They want an x-intercept. That's not an x-intercept. That's actually a vertical line. Add 3 to the left. The x-intercept is always in brackets. And make sure you put the x as the -3, not the y. Okay, so that's full marks. You need to show your work, and then you're just solving equations. We're a little rusty, but you can do this, and you've done it for many years now. Okay, let's try the first step. To the y-intercept, same thing. Now this time, wherever we see an x, we put 0. And I'm going to let you try to finish this one off on your own. So I'll give you 44 seconds to find the y-intercept and write it in brackets, please. Okay, so 5 times 0 is 0. You can just cancel off, or you can write 0, but 0 plus 15 is just 15. So you have 3y equals 15, and 3 times y, the opposite operation of times, multiply by 3 is divide by 3. So you get y equals 5. And make sure you write it as 0, 5, not 5, 0. That's the y-intercept. Now you could actually graph this line just by using, or 5 up, just by using the xy intercepts. That's the line 3y equals 5x plus 15, but we'll be doing that later on, not right now. But xy intercepts are very important for several concepts in math throughout grade 10, 11, 12. So let's be happy when I ask you an x and y intercept question, because there'll be many throughout the years. Okay, so what do we write down? For x-intercept, what equals 0? Yes, y equals 0. For the y-intercept, x equals 0. Write down the equation. X squared plus y squared equals 16. Whenever you see a y, you put 0. So x squared plus y squared becomes x squared plus 0 squared. 0 squared is what? Not sure? You can punch in your calculator, but it equals 0. So you're left with x squared equals 16. And now we've been talking about opposite operation of add 15, which is subtract 15, and 3 times y, which is divide by 3. What the heck is, sorry for swearing, what's the opposite operation of x squared? Bravo, it's square root. Okay, so x equals the square root of 16. Go ahead and put that. Yes, this is why we learned radicals. Let's give you another chance. What's the square root of 16 equals? 2 answers, positive, negative 4. So you're going to write down 4, 0 and negative 4, 0 as the x-intercepts. If you put one of these, even with all that work, you only get half your marks because you gave me 1 out of 2 x-intercepts. So that is a starry. Study star that. And remember, square root of 16 equals positive negative 4, which we went through our whole unit, last unit in radicals. Okay, your turn. Go ahead and do the y-intercept for me. And I'll come back in 2 minutes, 22 seconds. Please pause, Mrs. Jones. Okay, it's very similar. X squared plus y squared equals 16. X equals 0, so x squared becomes 0 squared. I'm just going to cross that off because 0 squared equals 0. And now I square root both sides. And I cannot forget that the square root of 16 has 2 answers, positive, negative 4. And also, please don't forget, if I'm asking you for a y-intercept, I need points ordered pairs. Okay, so write down, don't forget, final answer because I can't give you full marks unless you give me X and Y intercepts. All right, good job. So you don't want to do this question, all that work, and get 1 out of 2, because you will get 1 out of 2 if you don't put both intercepts positive, negative. Okay, next I believe is homework. And that's going to follow our group work. And I'm going to give you your groups. So you can do this on a separate piece of paper or on the back of the last page or any other space you can see in your handouts. And we're going to change up the groups this time. So rows 1 and 2, if I was facing you from the smartboard, row 1 and 2 are on my left, closest to my desk. You guys are DC Comics. So Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, etc. Row 3, 4, you're Duck Dynasty. And row 5 and 6, you're the Simpsons. And you can see, I think, pictures of all of them around my classroom in that certain area. And row 7, you can choose what you want to be. Okay, so let's go to page 416. And let's pop this a little easier to see. There we go. So, DC Comics, we're going to go in alphabetical order. I want you to do B. And notice this question just says Y-intercept, so just the Y-intercept. Duck Dynasty, I'll call you D squared. Find the Y-intercept for C. And do 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 do. You do E. And I'll give you 2 minutes to find the Y-intercept. Please pause. Thank you very much, Mr. Roboto. Okay, let's see how you did with the Y-intercepts. DC Comics, 3 times 0 equal to 0. Don't forget your negative 15, and I don't love what they did here at all. I need you to write me an ordered pair, please. So 0, negative 15. Good job. Joker. D squared. We got the Y-intercept, so the X part is canceled. And careful, you can't just put equal sign in between the 2y. Sometimes I see this, 2y equals negative 12. You can't just move the equal sign. That is wrong. You have to add 12 to both sides, keep the equal signs where it is, and then divide by 2, and you get 0, 6. Good job, Cy. Have some sweet tea. And you can see that obviously this is Simpsons from my professional drawing of Bart Simpson. Don't be jealous. And if x equals 0, the x part cancels, and don't forget the negative 60, and then divide by 2, and you get 0, negative 30 as an ordered pair. All right, bravo. And again, next time when you're done, you want to look at the other, just like we have all year, look at the other questions as well, just to have an idea how you would go about them. Let's look at number 2 now. And it says find the x-intercepts. I'm rarely going to ask you this question. I'll ask for both the x and y intercepts, but on a multiple choice question, this certainly could be a fine question. And most of the time I'll ask you for the x and the y intercepts, so make sure you know x-intercepts means y equals 0. So there. Okay, DC, Duck Dynasty, still C. and Simpsons still E. All right, I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. Please pause. Okay, here are the answers. I showed my work, and 4-0 is hopefully what you got. Robin, 6-0 hopefully is what you got, Willie. And Mo, hopefully you remember that's the square root of 9 equals positive negative 3. This is what's happened coming in grade 11. When you do quadratic equations and you factor, certainly you know how to factor. This is difference of squares. And then you solve each branch. It's okay if they showed it to you. You're not going to do that. You're going to add 9 to both sides and then square root the 9 to get positive negative 3. 2 answers. So hopefully if you did B and C, you looked at E and recognized that there's going to be 2 answers to this guy. All right, good job. Now I want you to go to page 16, and I do not want you to do homework on this page tonight, but I want you to do 3A and 3C right now as your last 2 questions of the day. I will warn you, so you don't scream and pull any hair out, that you can have fractions. In fact, look at this. Geez, how beautiful is that question right now? You can have fractions as x and y intercepts. They do not have to be whole numbers. So negative 5, 6, 0 is the answer, if it's the answer, when you solve for x. Okay, so do 3a. Well, there's no sense in doing that. Here we go. Let's do this question right now. And this question right now, you need to find both the x and y intercepts. Read the questions. And don't forget your x and y intercepts are going to be ordered pairs. After you do that, if there's time left, you can work on the rest of your homework on the previous pages that you've already worked on for 20 minutes. Have a great day. God bless. Have an awesome day. Ha ha ha.